Okay, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. The second quarter review meeting for the Police Advisory Review Committee. Welcome to everyone here from the community. We're glad that you're here. And I would encourage you, as you picked up the materials on the way into the room, we've got those in the back if you missed those. Please, on your own, review the mission and vision of Parc. And the purpose, I would like to just call your attention to rules of decorum. Those who wish to speak during public forums should sign up by contacting the Parc office ahead of time or by signing up in person prior to the start of the meeting at 6 p.m. All speakers will be given 5 minutes. Please avoid the use of profanity and remember to stay on topic. Those who fail to adhere to these rules may be ruled out of order and asked to step away from the podium. For those who are listening, please note that you may not disrupt a public meeting from the audience. Those who do so may be asked to leave, and we appreciate your respect and cooperation with these rules. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from quarter one. Our board requires a quorum to do so, which would be 4 members of the committee. We do not have a quorum, so I would table that until another time. The next item on the agenda is the executive director's report from our new executive director, Jerry Craig.
Thank you. Well, first of all, this is my first meeting as a executive director. I've been in many of these meetings in Jonathan's position and Letty and etc. So thank you for the opportunity to serve the city in this capacity. There were total OPS cases audited by the committee were 2. Officers disciplined were 1. There were which is a good thing, very little reprimands, 1 suspension, and 1 officer resigned prior to the conclusion of the investigation. The general orders that we reviewed were 1.6, use of force, 1.19, unbecoming conduct, 1.21, unsatisfactory performance, and 1.24, use of force, and 2.07, truthfulness, and 3.00, courtesy. Under advocacy, we worked together with KPD to discuss working relationships to make our this work go a little bit smoother. I meet often. We have set scheduled meetings with the chief as well as his staff. One of the things that has come, I think that is new, that I think is very important to acknowledge, is that myself or my designated staff is able to sit in on disciplinary hearings. Now, granted, we don't have a functionary voice per se in these hearings, but we do get to see the raw hearing as it goes when it happens. And I think that's very useful to give context to a lot of things that up until this point we've only read. So I think that's very useful. In addition, under networking, speaking engagements, and training, I spoke to a lot of the young people over the summer at the Green Magnet Academy. I presented at the KPD Citizens Police Academy. Also, the executive director, that's me. I attended the NACOL webinar training. I was also able to attend several KCDC block parties and back to school parties. We attended the Tennessee Black Caucus Town Hall, which was held at the Beck Center. We met with juvenile court at the Richard Bean Juvenile Detention Center and I'll give a theme here when I finish this. We met with the director of Centro Hispano. We met with the Muslim community of Knoxville, the Phyllis Wheatley Center, the Knoxville Jewish community leaders, and the Knoxville Area Urban League. And the reason why that's sort of a long list is the key for my time in this position is expanding access to the process. What I want people to understand is the way that they are policed in Knoxville is defined by not only laws and policies, but it's defined by the will of the people. The people must speak up on how they want their city to run, how they want their city to be policed. Of course, there's parameters and there are rules and laws that govern everything, but when we work hand in hand with the police department to ensure that we have a synergistic relationship, I think the outcome will always be better than if we stay in a perceived adversarial role. So I look forward to working closer and working hand in hand with this KPD staff to make that happen, as well as community and citizens, community organizations and citizens. My community manager also, tonight is actually the completion of the Citizen Police Academy where she is. She attended KCDC block parties as well, met with clergy from the Episcopal Diocese, and attended NACOL webinar training as well. And that concludes my executive director report.
Thank you, Jared. We're going to move to our subcommittee reports. First is the audio-visual report, and we'll turn to Leticia Flores.
And this is the audio-video report for the second quarter, spanning April 1st to July 31st, 2023. Of the 4 referral action forms and 2 internal affairs cases reviewed by the Parc, there were 2 cases with documented audio and video recordings based on body-worn cameras and/or the incident taking place in the vicinity of the officers' patrol vehicles and within recordable range. The subcommittee submits the following findings for our second quarter review. For file number 1, case 23-2905, the audio-video equipment for the involved officer was functioning properly and captured the incident being reviewed. For file number 2, case 22-2889, the audio-video equipment for the involved officer was functioning properly and captured the incident being reviewed. Audio was terminated during interaction with other officers in accordance to General Order 2.16. In summary, the Knoxville Police Department's General Order 2.16, Digital Audio Video Recording Equipment, details that officers and vehicles equipped with audio-video recording equipment shall be in record mode at all times when there is potential for contact with a person in the community, whether on duty or during secondary employment. The purpose of digital audio-video recording equipment is to monitor all contacts with the person in the community in all situations possible. In addition, the Knoxville Police Department requires sergeants to review officers' audio and visual footage twice per month at random to ensure that their equipment is operating properly. And that concludes the audio-video report.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. For our racial profiling report, we turn to Elijah.
There were 5 alleged racial profiling / bias-based policing cases reviewed by Parc during this quarter review. Policy. It is the policy of Knoxville Police Department that we are committed to preserving the peace and maintaining order in the city of Knoxville by practicing bias-free policing and respecting the rights and dignity of all citizens. Definition. Bias-based profiling. The practice of stopping, detaining, or searching a person based solely upon a common trait or a group that includes, but is not limited to, their race, color, ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation, religion, economic status, or any other identifiable group characteristic.
Thank you. And Ms. Sadia Williams will present our operations case review.
Well, and I don't have glasses, but nonetheless, the following report provides a total of the first quarter cases. Cases reviewed, KPD closed internal audit unit and/or referral action form cases. 2, Parc, community complaints received via Parc Office 16, community complaints referred to IAU are a captain of 0. Total cases reviewed, this includes, of course, the IAU and the complaints to Parc, totaling 18. Total cases pending, 0. These are complaints, if there were any, these would be identified as complaints that are awaiting review by Parc upon the completion of a KPD investigation. Total cases closed, 18. Resolution of community complaint cases, Parc staff 16, KPD 0. There appears to have been no mediation between Parc staff and KPD. and referrals to appropriate agencies was 0. So if we look at a year in review, excuse me, total cases brought to Parc from 9/22 to present, you can see the respective columns. 2,713 in 2022, and thus far to date in 2023, 2,756. There appears to be an increase. Total cases closed from 9/22, 98 to present, 2,650. For the year, 2,696. Cases resolved by Parc Office 18, last year 23 thus far. This year, resolved by mediation between Parc Office and KPD, 0 for the year ending in 2022, and thus far to date in 2023, resolved by KPD, 20, 4 respectively. Referrals to appropriate agencies, 3, 9. Total cases pending, 1, 0. Parc cases referred to IEU or captain for the year, 14 ending 2022, 5 thus far, 2023. IEU cases reviewed by Parc staff and committee, internal affairs, 13, 14. Referral action forms, 8, 0. Ready to continue?
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the case matters addressed by the committee. There were 2 cases this quarter reviewed by the committee. Case 23-2905 and case 22-2889. All members of the committee concurred with the findings in these 2 cases, and no questions were submitted. Any discussion from the committee on these cases? Seeing none. Anything else we need to address on that, Jared?
If anyone had any matters, as you said before. Did anyone have any questions?
Item 8 on the agenda is committee business. Any committee business that needs to be addressed by members of the committee?
Of course.
Okay. Item 9 then, we would like to invite Donna Mitchell to make her presentation. Donna is the president and CEO of Covenant Counseling.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. My name is Donna Mitchell. I am with Covenant Counseling. I have a handout. I may not have enough, but if you will take one and pass those around. And then if you will come here. If you will pass those out for me. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to thank you guys for inviting me just to speak a little bit about, this is going to be about the psychological effects of police stops. So not just for the individuals being stopped, but also what's going on in the officers, what's going on in the community. Because I honestly believe we are totally overlooking a lot of things that have absolutely nothing to do with the actual stop. So what happened when you left home and went to the office, got to the car, the person in the car was driving? There were so many other factors going on. I want everybody just to take a few minutes and think of an incident that was very disturbing. This could be, I feel like I have my back to you guys. This could be an incident from childhood, young adult. It could be today, yesterday, but just think for a moment. Something very disturbing. Please be curious enough to pay attention to your heart rate, your breathing. Did anything change from the time that I got up here to the time that I asked you to really think about that disturbing event? Or did, when I asked you to think about the disturbing event, you said, I can't think about no disturbing event. No. What happened to your body? So there are automatic things that happen in our body. Fight, flight, freeze. Everybody knows that, right? So if that is an automatic response to trauma, and when I hear the police coming, even though I've done nothing, why do I run? Are you serious? Right? Automatic response. We automatically run. We're afraid. Fight, flight, freeze. If I grew up not in a very good environment, and I am known to flight, and I see someone come, could be meaning me well, may not mean me well. My job here today, I hope, is to allow us to think outside of the box, outside of the police stop, outside of the person being stopped, for us to pay attention long enough to what's going on inside our bodies. Dr. Denise Jackson and I are partnering, and we have completed a certification training on community resiliency, and that is teaching 6 basic skills for us to pay attention to track our interior functioning. When I track myself and when I can pay attention to when I am outside of my resiliency zone, I can tell if I can act and really think about what I'm doing, think about where I'm going, think of how I'm going to respond when you interact with me. If I can't track my emotions, I can't regulate my emotions. If a person is driving and they were just in an argument at home with the wife, or the wife was in an argument with the husband, and I'm in the car and I'm driving fast because I'm upset, you see me, you stop me, I'm upset. If I do not have the skills to bring myself down, to regulate myself, I may or may not say something inappropriate. If you just left and you were in an argument, your boss just got on to you for something and you're upset. So a lot of times there are so many other things, so many other factors that are not being paid attention to. Training for the community, training for the officers, training for us in general cannot be once or twice a year. Guys, it cannot. It can't. We have to teach these skills. We have to practice these skills. We have to talk about these skills. When I need to be grounded, I may not always have my Apple Watch on. True story. I was in a counseling session with a person who had a very traumatic situation going on. When that person left me, I was feeling it. My mirror neurons were going. What I felt, she felt. What she felt, I felt. That's a real thing. My Apple Watch said, your heart rate's 121 at a resting state. I'm like, oh, God. I had to ground myself. My office is in the 640 North building. And so when I close my eyes, I can only hear the interstate. Shh. It's the ocean to me. It had to be the ocean that day to me. I had to ground myself. Because I had somebody else coming in 5 minutes. Officers, do you have an interstate where you can just pull over and close your eyes and ground yourself? No, you don't. Community, do we always know when we can get grounded, when we can calm down, when we can really pay attention to what is going on internally so that I can react in a more appropriate way? If we're not paying attention to our physical, emotional, individually and collectively, we have a very serious problem, as we know, right? I was talking to my sister on the way over here because we have trauma packed on top of trauma, packed on top of trauma. When I say the word trauma, most of us think of something big, catastrophe, right? So what happens when I'm a little child and I bump and scrape my knee? It's okay, but I did not have that parent that said, "Baby, are you okay?" And my parent was attuned to me. My parent cared for me. What if I didn't have that parent? It's not neglect. But trauma is just as traumatic when there's something that you need that you don't get. It may not always be what happened to you. It could be. Because see, the trauma responsive stuff, it teaches us to ask, not what's wrong with them, but what happened to them. But I want to take it a little bit further. What did you need that you didn't get? That is just as traumatic. Because you may have had that parent that said, "Oh, are you okay?" So they were attuned to you, but they didn't engage you. Trauma. So your body remembers the score. If you haven't read that book, you should. The body keeps the score. Your body remembers the score. That wasn't nothing. I'm tough. I don't cry. So we all put this shell on, but then our body is going off. Anybody ever felt like this is just a good day? But then all of a sudden you kind of felt shaky, off balance a little bit, like something is not right, and you didn't know why. The body keeps the score. Sometimes the fragmentation in our brain, the stories and events that took place, versus our emotions that remember, have been fragmented. One more true story. My husband and I had just built a home. I was putting things away. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. The birds were chirping. He pulls the truck up a gravel driveway. Next thing I know, I'm leaning over the counter, crying. I don't know. What in the world? He came in, he said, "What is wrong?" It was the gravel driveway. I don't know. It was just the gravel driveway. My body remembered the gravel driveway when I was a little girl. And every day my dad came home, functioning alcoholic, and would beat my mom. 30, 40 years later, my body remembered that. But if I am in my car and hear a gravel driveway and I'm crying profusely and I get stopped, is anybody gonna know I can't communicate that. We have to be able to pay attention to what's going on in our bodies when our mind may not remember, but our bodies sure do. So it could be from, I honestly believe that if everybody could embrace the community resiliency model, and we take off all of our titles and all of that good stuff. And we could all sit on the floor, even Indian style, and just sit there on the floor and have some conversations and be real. We could get so much work done. We really could. We could get so much work done. But what I'm asking you to do requires you to be curious enough to pay attention to just this simple conversation that I'm having right now. Is your body kind of responding like, oh my gosh, is she really saying this? Oh, whoa. You know, pay attention, be curious enough to ask yourself, why is my body responding like this? When she talked about that functioning alcoholic dad, I just wanted her to sit down because that embarrassed me. Be curious enough to find out why your body is responding in a certain way. The heart rate, the breathing, the uncomfortableness. We have to pay attention. There are 6 skills in the resiliency model, and I don't have time to go over all of them today, but if you would like a training by me and Dr. Denise Jackson, we cannot train everybody. Our goal is to train other trainers so that this can be a normal conversation that we can have in the community, in the law enforcement field, in the schools. We're in the Phyllis Wheatley YWCA now. We are in the communities trying to make sure that the kids, the staff, the parents are all singing the same song. Okay? I do appreciate it. I appreciate this invite, and so hopefully this was just enough nugget for you all to give us a call back. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to what your internal automatic workings are saying. Thank you so much.
How would they get in contact?
Yes. I do have on this handout is our my office number is on here. My name is Donna Mitchell. And I have business cards. I'd be glad to give you a business card before we
Can you read
leave.
it for the camera because it's recorded?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
If you Google government counseling, it comes right up.
And yes, but my name is Donna Mitchell, Covenant Counseling, 865-337-7375 is our office number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The education for me is an integral part of this process of what Parc is about, Police Advisory Review Committee. It's not simply about the punitive nature of when officers act outside the scope of what they should or shouldn't do, and we look at the policies and the breakdowns. It's also about educating each other. From time to time, we will have police personnel come in and educate us on different parts of the policing apparatus. We'll have people from the community in various capacities come in and educate us about how we can better fit together all these missing pieces that we have to build a better Knoxville. So with that being said, we have a public forum. We've had 3 people sign up to speak, and we're going to go in order. The only thing I'm sorry? Yeah. I didn't know if we could go back or not, so we can.
We got a form now, I think we do, so.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Okay.
pardon.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the quarter 1 meeting?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Any questions? Any questions or discussion? Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, so our public forum, I will have this gentleman down here, Mr. Winningham. He will be your timekeeper, and he will start the 5-minute clock when you begin talking. And I will just ask to be respectful of everyone's time. At the end of your 5 minutes, relinquish the floor so the next person can go up and share with their thoughts. And the first person we had to sign up there is Mr. Rick Roach. If you could come up to the front, and when you start talking, we'll give you your 5 minutes. Wherever you feel comfortable, just to project.
Back there, but that's okay.
Yeah, but we're on camera too, so I wanted to make sure
Oh, hi there.
you capture. You capture.
My name is Rick Roach. I currently reside in the 37917 zip code. Yesterday, I was at the federal court up in Greenville for the Dylan Williams KPD civil case. I stayed all day and I watched. My best description of what I encountered was shenanigans, legal shenanigans, and as a preclusion to that, I was intimately involved from the day that Bernard Phipps was killed, and that was by invitation of someone close to the family and by the family as they came to deal with the situation of his death. October of 2019, I was here, not here, but at the Parc meeting, and Chief Thomas was there in charge at the time. And we asked about why people were allowed, Dylan Williams in fact, was allowed to make a statement, public statement in the newspaper. And we told he had First Amendment right. But there had not been any other legal action taken. There was nothing. He was the perpetrator. That was the known fact. But he was allowed to speak to his guilt or innocence at that time. And I asked why. And I was told First Amendment right. Okay? Only problem with that is, well, the people wasn't allowed because he was dead. And we wondered why the police department at that time could not, would not, did not put some restriction on that young man, Dylan Williams, from speaking about something that he caused, a situation that he caused. Okay? No one else pulled the trigger except him. But, no matter what you think about the circumstances of that, that was inappropriate at best. But nothing was done. He was allowed. In fact, now we see the result of all of that because the decision has come back that he was never at fault of violating anybody's civil rights. And that's fine. It is what it is. But I was in that court yesterday and I watched those shenanigans. I watched the maneuverings, and it was upsetting. Okay? I watched people babble on for 45 minutes and said nothing about the responsibility of a police officer when they encounter people. Okay, I've been pulled over and asked to sometimes get out of my car and sometimes to stay in the vehicle. Okay? So, trauma, I didn't get traumatized. Only thing that traumatized me is when a person with a gun is walking up on me and they got the authority. That's trauma.
Yes.
That's trauma. Everything else don't matter. Okay? So now I have to go into this whole rigmarole of acting crazy just to make a person back off. And I've been pulled over multiple times. And if you want to know about one of the situations that was described at a Parc meeting, ask Jerry Kroom. He was on the committee at the time, and he witnessed it. The training session that I went through with, I think now Lieutenant Watson, training officer. Okay? And what he described as what he was training officers to do on the street when they pull people over wasn't what I experienced. It wasn't what I know other people who happen to look like me experience. Okay? That's what we're dealing with here. The reality of the situation. And it's gone on and on and on and on. And all we see is when people die, civilians die at the hands of the police in this city, nothing is done. People are harassed. Nothing is done. I've been too many times with Constance Everett, other folk, going to the police station, listening to absurdity over and over again. And it gets to be frustrating. Thoroughly, highly frustrating. If you want to talk personally about it, any of you police officers, if you really want to get the lowdown on what's been really going down, come talk to me.
Thank you, Mr. Roach, for your comments and your contribution. Next on the list, we have Mr. Tyler Givens.
Thank you. My name is Tyler Givens. I guess you go ahead and start my time, but I have an exhibit today. So I brought some screenshots and photographs with me from the video I'm going to talk about today. So I brought a set for the audience as well. If you want to take a look at these. So this is a case I've talked about here before several times, but just to refresh everybody's memory. On July 28th of 2022, Officer Travis Schuler tackled a compliant suspect for failing to provide his Social Security number. Officer Schuler received a call of a person in distress on an overpass. He arrived to see a man hunched over a woman on the ground. The woman was not visibly injured. The man followed Officer Schuler's commands to step back and lean on the guardrail. He was evasive about providing his name and date of birth, and he refused to provide his Social Security number. So, Officer Schuler ordered him to turn around, and when he turned around, Officer Schuler, who was about twice the weight of the emaciated man and a head taller, used his greater height to reach around the man, lift him up, his feet dangling off the ground, before he proceeded to fall on top of him on the asphalt. Officer Schuler filed no use of force report at that time. Now, the reason this was found out about is because I just happened to request that body camera video because somebody told me they saw a bunch of cop cars on the side of the highway. And I was like, I wonder what that was all about. Little did I know what I was going to find. So I filed a complaint about it. My video is actually referenced in the internal affairs report here, which I wanted to talk about a little bit now. Several times it says that it calls out the difference between the body camera footage and the car footage. And it always says that the body camera footage is inconclusive. And it says the car camera footage is unclear. So there's a couple different sets of pictures here. Some is from the car camera, and some is from the body camera. Now, when you get your arms around somebody and you squeeze them against your chest, body camera is not a very good view. That's why we have multiple cameras. When you look at the view from the camera, from the car camera, from the distance away, it seems pretty clear to me that Officer Schuler choked this guy, was trying to choke this guy, tried to put him in a lateral vascular restraint. There's a diagram there you can look at. He tried to wrap his arms around this man's neck and hold his neck. Now, whether that's what he started intending to do, or that's what he was trained to do, or that's what he finished doing, that doesn't really matter to me. He shouldn't have done that. It's against our policy to have officers perform chokeholds. But the IU report found that Officer Schuler did not violate policy. He did not put this man in a chokehold. There's some choice language in here I want to point out too. Let's see. Officer Schuler, this is Officer Schuler's account here. When I stood him back up, he picked both feet off of the ground and put them on the guardrail. I don't know what his intentions were, but it felt like he was trying to push us back into traffic. So there's a couple frames in there of the man's feet touching the guardrail. Now I want you to look at those and tell me if that man's feet are in a position to push off that guardrail. Now I understand this isn't a video. I couldn't play a video for you tonight. But at no point in that video does that man have a firm purchase on that guardrail with his feet. Officer Schuler's taller than this guy. He picked him up, tried to choke him, and fell on top of him. No use of force report was filed because his sergeant told him not to. Now I think this IU report gave a slap on the wrist, kind of say to the sergeant that was involved. But I really just want to bring this back to your attention and bring some physical evidence so you can take a look closer. Maybe you guys saw the video, I don't know. I really just wanted to bring it back up so you'll look at it again. And then there was a note here in the file, so I guess they did, they did file a they sustained a general order violation against Officer Schuler for failing to file a use of force report. But it's very clear that a use of force report shall be completed by any member employing less lethal force if any of the following circumstances occur. There's apparent injury on the suspect. And in this report, Officer Schuler reports that he treated the suspect with first aid kit. So I'll go ahead and yield the last few seconds of my time. Just take a minute, look over those photographs, and if you would, I'll try to send the video background to Park again. But please re-review this case of Officer Schuler and his use of force from last July. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. And we will, so just out of curiosity, if I may ask you a question. You submitted this to whom before?
I originally submitted to Tiffany Davis when she was the park director. She passed it on to Chief Noel, who passed it on to, down the chain to the IU department. They did an investigation, but they found that there was no chokehold, no violation of policy, other than the fact that he did not file a use of force report. And I don't believe he was punished for that because he did it under the orders of the sergeant.
There was a resolution. I mean, there was an investigation and a
Yes,
resolution.
it's actually, so I'll just give you this page right here. It's got the case number right there on the top of it. So you can just, if you need that for your reference, there's a case number.
I'll check it out.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? No. The final person we have signed up to speak tonight is Ms. Constance Every.
You see me? Okay. Sound right?
Whenever you're ready.
All right, Constance 7379114. Okay, number one, black people. Kill the benevolent story. There is no secret about the American Police Department and the trauma that they are creating in Black America. Let's not forget, Florida just happened. We had Brooklyn. We've had several incidents here. And more importantly, Paul Noel, because one of the most corrupted police departments known to America, through New Orleans, Louisiana, PD, Police Department. So let's just stop playing the benevolent story. It does not exist. But let's also stick to the facts. The facts are, one, Brooklyn Belt has left this department due to what we already know, a cultural history of racism in the Knoxville Police Department. And the kicker is, Paul Noel was asked directly at City Council meeting a few weeks ago by Councilwoman Seema and Councilwoman Amelia Parker about the narrative behind her leaving. And he literally stood there and lied to our faces as the public. But the kicker is, Angela Dennis and the Knoxville News Sentinel drops the story. And all of a sudden now Paul Noel is ready to give us a full narrative on why Brooklyn Belt left. But I want to point out a conflict of interest that exists in the first place. How is this attorney representing KPD and Park? Let's be for real, Knoxville. This is not even a real thing that y'all are even doing actually in Park when you have a conflict of your legal representation sitting in your council. Let's get realistic to the conversation. Also, the irony of Dylan Williams. Rick wrote column. We have been following the Philly Phelps case for a very long time. And before Paul got here, Thomas was questioned about where is Dylan Williams. And true to the factors of keeping corruption going out of the department, instead of Dylan Williams being fired or placed on administrative leave without pay, he has been promoted to a detective of homicide. Is that not ironic? How do you kill somebody and now you're investigating murder? I think that's definitely a conflict of interest. But you know what? He ain't the only one. Let's not forget, Jonathan Clabo murdered Anthony Thompson Jr. Guess where he's at? He's a detective too today. Again, let's talk about Scott Kofi. Murdered Andre Stinson. Where he at today? He's a promotion of holding a higher ranking representation of like a sergeant in the department. So let's be real, Knoxville. This is not going to get the job done. And let's be real too, Park. Y'all not even represent the most harmed demographics. This is a joke in itself in the representation here. So I continue to challenge Knoxville. When are we going to get serious about the changes we need to see? When are we actually going to start holding these people accountable? Because let's not forget, their payroll is paid by us. the taxpayers. They don't even feed their families. They can't put roofs on their heads. They can't pump gas in their cars and pay the insurance and the car notes on the things that they own without taxpayers' dollars putting it in their pocketbooks first. And more importantly, Knoxville, let's not forget, Andy Kincannon, who's the mayor, the chief executive officer here, when we were hiring this man, led to an assault on a well-known black activist known as Z. So let's not forget that there is corruption all the way through the ranks, and let's at least not forget our district attorney, Charm Allen, the ultimate cover-up and the ultimate criminal in the picture, because she's the one that has the jurisdiction to hold everybody accountable, and she has failed to do it time and time again. Jared, as far as you know, you've been here a very long time, and yes, the expectations are high, but more importantly, I don't see it from you. I really don't. I don't see it. I'm not feeling it, and more importantly, when I come in this room and I don't see cases being held accountable like Brooklyn Bell, that should have been a conversation today on this floor. This man should have been interrogated on what happened. What happened, Paul? What happened? You had an internal affair happen where this woman got this email internally of telling her to leave, calling her a nigger, things like that. Let's not forget, Scott Kofi's on record in my court case calling me a worthless piece of shit. And y'all call that the type of conduct that's representative of our community? You think we really trust you all in our streets? Are you being serious right now? You know what kind of clown you look like for real, in our community, in our city? You can't even look me in my eyes. See what I'm talking about? Coward, coward, coward. And I'm sick of it. Like, I'm really sick of these clowns in our community running around our streets, taking our tax dollars, and at the same time cannot be trusted, and more importantly, if anything, expected to murder us. So why do we run? We run because of the history. We run because they are slave catchers. We run because when we see these people in our communities, we know they are not there for our best interest. If anything, they are a threat to us. So for the last time, Park, get for real. Otherwise, I am sick of seeing y'all as well, and more importantly, Paul Noel, you better hope to God that we cannot get DOJ down here through Brooklyn Bell, because your ass is up out of here immediately. I yield my time.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sick of it. Literally. All y'all trash. Every last one of them. Including you, especially you. Y'all said to me, thanks. Now do something.
I'm gonna assume y'all don't want me to comment. I'm gonna speak to a few of those things. I probably shouldn't, but I'm hard-headed. And as far as Ron Mills' position as a law director, if I'm not mistaken, is that your title? I'm taking Deputy Law Director. The bureaucratic reality is the Police Advisory Review Committee is a component of the city of Knoxville. The Knoxville Police Department is a component of the city of Knoxville.
We know that, Jared. We know that.
I know. I'm saying that for the benefit of those who may not know. Okay? And with that being said, there is a clear connection from a bureaucratic standpoint that we all work for the city of Knoxville. We work in different capacities. He is not within my chain of command, if you will. We have a separate, and I work very hard to keep a respectful but separate line between the work we do and the work they do. But I won't back away from the fact that in order to do this park work effectively, it must be done with the respect and professional relationship with the city of Knoxville Police Department. I won't back away from that statement.
Hey, you might support murderers. I don't.
Well, that is your opinion, and you're welcome to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm simply stating my position. I allowed you your 5 minutes. Okay, and we know each other. I respect you, and I respect your opinion. We don't necessarily have to agree to move forward. But with that being said, and as far as Brooklyn Belt Sawyers, that is a matter for HR. That is a matter for Brooklyn Belk's ability to seek civil remedy if she feels that she was done wrong. That is a matter for this department, which I believe they did, not you personally, but whether the city agrees to the extent at which they did, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they consulted TBI, they consulted the FBI, and they reached the conclusion that what was actually sent did not rise to the threshold of a criminal complaint. That's my understanding. Is that accurate? I'm not asking for details. But
not TBI, but FBI.
TBI, okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke. But the FBI was indeed brought in on this conversation, and it didn't rise to a criminal matter.
That's correct.
Brooklyn hasn't, to my knowledge, made a public statement as to what her next steps are. So I'm not in a position to speak for her. I can only speak for me and my opinion. When I heard about what happened, I did not like it. It really hurt me personally because I like her and respect her as a person and a professional woman in this space, which is not an easy thing to do. There's only one black woman in the KPD, right? That's a situation that needs to be spoken about very candidly and worked on to improve. But again, and I respect your opinion, I respect your passion, and I take what you say, and I will accept that. But what I want us to walk away with, the fact is that Parc is an entity that has oversight to ensure that we build something. We're not there yet. I'm not even gonna pretend like we are where we need to be. But I will accept the charge and I will give out the charge to the citizens of Knoxville that we can be better together, much easier than we can be better in our silos, throwing rocks at glass houses, when we can get together and make something happen. And my office doors stay open to any citizen who has ideas to make better decisions, better policies and things of that nature going forward. And we stand as a conduit to the police department, not in opposition of them. And I'll say that with my full throat. That's not the position that Parc has. And if you want to say, I'd like to get your hand up, Mr. Roach.
Yeah.
I will give you 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
You can put 2 minutes on the thing to retort, if you like.
I just want to speak to, I'm just going to sit here and be comfortable with what I say here.
Yes, sir.
Knoxville has had it within its, not just its police department, but within its governance, Knoxville government, had a culture problem.
Sure.
Okay? And I speak when I speak to this, and I say every time, and I look at you and I tell you, that, you carry out policy for the city of Knoxville, whether you understand it or not. I'm just telling you, that's the case. Okay? So the only thing that you can do to affect how that policy looks on the streets of Knoxville in particular communities or neighborhoods, because some places just ain't got no community anymore because the institutions are gone. That's again policy that you have to enforce and reinforce. That's just the reality of it. And until we get a grip on that, until Parc understands that that's part of the situation that you are dealing with, you're still going to have these meetings where you're going to review cases of misbehavior because there is a lack of a cultural standard within the department, the police department, to do the right thing and to have a connection to the people that you police. It's that simple.
No, they select coons that follow the recruitment on that instead. They don't bring the real business in the opposition business. They avoid those. And more importantly, all of us reflected that he's not committed to true cultural accountability.
With all due respect, I'm going to take control of this meeting back and put it in the hands of our chair. With all due respect.
That's fine. You said 2 minutes. Our 2 minutes expired.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
At this time, we would entertain any updates from the community, anything going on in the community that we need to be made aware of.
Chairman, not really a community update, but I would like to be aware that the revisions to the ordinance, the Parc ordinance, that are required to comply with the new revisions to state law that were passed earlier this year will be on the city council agenda, the first reading on Tuesday. And it has to pass by 2 readings. The last possible city council date that we could have for it to pass is, I believe, October 17th. So we've got some leeway in there, but the revisions are on council agenda.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. If there's nothing else, move to adjourn. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
A second? All in favor?
And I just want to say before we cut the live feed, the business of city government is not always pretty. It oftentimes is contentious, but that's what makes us a great city. The fact that we bring many voices to the table and we listen to them all. There will be, as long as I'm in this seat, there will be no one that's not heard. There will be no one that will be turned away, as long as you bring a cogent, respectful conversation to the table, you will be listened to. And so I welcome any oppositional voice that wants to come and call my office. If I can remember the phone number, I'd give it. I don't remember it. Google it. But I don't want it to be left out there that this was some sort of, bad thing, that people are very passionate about their city. Because we all are, and we love it. Oh, thank you. See, this is why he's the chair. My phone number to the office is 215-865-215-3869. So please give us a call if you have any questions, and that's it. And thank you for coming out, everyone, on this night.